Before we begin Quatermass 2, we'd like to say that in our opinion it is not suitable for children or for those of you who may have a nervous disposition.
Proceed with weapons to gate 4.
Welcome back to Dark Corner's Physical Media Reviews.
Quatermass, the Rocket Man!
This week, Sid James in a horror science fiction classic. And he's really good. The next instalment in Hammer's legacy release schedule is also the next instalment in the Quatermass series. Quatermass 2 is usually referred to as the first numbered sequel, although it is preceded by Kurosawa's Sanshiro Sugata Part 2, and technically the title refers to Quatermass's second rocket, but still. Hammer's The Quatermass Experiment was still in cinemas when Quatermass 2 appeared on BBC TV, and Hammer moved swiftly to secure the rights.
There's scores of them coming down. What are they? Meteorites?
Once again, the story is an original take on extraterrestrial life.
I think it's a multiple organism, 1,000 billion intelligences, if you like, with one single consciousness.
And invasion.
A sort of vibration.
And I do wonder if it inspired Alien.
Something is implanted, an instinct.
But it also encompasses government corruption.
Do we know what they're doing down there?
And while the workers marching on the factory now feels prescient of torch-wielding mobs to come in Hammer's gothic future, it is also social commentary that gets no less relevant with time. There are more familiar Hammer names starting to appear. This was production designer Bernard Robinson's first film with the company. There's John Van Eysen, Jonathan Harker in Dracula, and Michael Ripper. Though he had appeared for Hammer before, this was the first of his many horror films for the company. And while this is science fiction, I do think it earns the word horror, particularly in this, its most memorable scene. I'd also call it a conspiracy thriller, sharing DNA with the previous year's Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
They're here already! You're next!
Prying apart the mystery of the domes. A key difference was that this time Quatermass creator Nigel Kneale was able to work on the screenplay, adapting the 6-part series with returning director Val Guest into a lean 85 minutes.
And now, the plant's almost complete.
Jettisoning most of the last 2 episodes in favour of a taut, earthbound climax.
And shoot to kill!
Neil's main issue, again, was Brian Donlevy in the role of Quatermass.
Who reset that scanner? What's it doing at that low level?
Though the Professor is this time less bull-headed,
I'm sorry. I had no right to jump on you like that.
Donlevy was still not Neil's vision, later calling him a bully whose emotional range ran from annoyance to fury.
How long before that oxygen takes effect? How can I tell? Maybe hours.
And what then? There'll be others coming?
There will be, unless we can destroy the asteroid, the thing they're coming from.
Here we go again, and what can I say? The packaging is always great. Nice poster. Pointless cards. Please let us know if you adore these lobby cards or frame them or something. Graphic novels, nice enough. As we sort of trailed, the Quatermass Papers Volume 2, and these are really interesting articles. People ask if we'll ever do a special on the Quatermass films, and really, now, why bother? Danziger's, the famously cheap production company, this was the first film shot in their new Elstree studio. See, this is cool. Why are so many horror films based around post-war new towns? They're creepy somehow.
15 miles? You mean there aren't any police here?
Only the camp committee. They do everything around here.
Where can I find them?
Community centre.
Differences between the film and TV series. Hammer Horror's first iconic moment. Discuss. Sid James' name is spelt differently in the press book to the on-screen credits. His real name was Sidney Cohen. He was Jewish, which I don't think is widely known. The alternative posters in other countries are nowhere near as good, and I know the name Quatermass had no cachet in the US, but Enemy from Space is such a tedious title. 5 discs again. Quatermass 2, Quatermass II. That's what I'm looking forward to most, and you get the whole series this time. This is the TV version, although this is still just a filmed TV screen. The extras, similarly, what we've come to expect, although the commentaries have gone overboard this time because Hammer got in early with the commentaries when the films were released on Laserdisc in 1998. So, from the archives, there are individual commentaries from Val Guest and Nigel Kneale in conversation with Marcus Hearn. There's also the option of these two edited together, which seems unnecessary, but honestly, Hearn is killing himself to get Kneale to talk. Kneale seems to be taking the view that if you've got nothing good to say about Brian Donlevy, then say nothing at all. Although he is a fan of Michael Ripper.
I got it! The whole dome!
Who isn't? Also archival are commentaries from Ted Newsom and from Konstantin Nasser and Steve Haberman. Then there are the new ones to this release, a chatty intellectual one from Bronte Schiltz and John Deere, and a pleasingly enthusiastic one from Toby Hadoke, Stephen R. Bissett and Neil biographer Andy Murray. Really fell on his feet when his tennis career ended. Surprisingly, given the number of commentaries and superior to the Quatermass Experiment, there's very little repetition in what's being said. It's a bit more opinion driven. Elsewhere, there's part 2 of Toby Hadoke's Nigel Kneale documentary, mentioning some tantalising unrealised projects, including an adaptation of Lord of the Flies and films with John Landis and Joe Dante. Solid making-of featurette on Donlevy, and a question of character, which is essentially a debate about the character of Quatermass and the casting of Donlevy. Personally, Donlevy is not my favourite, but he's up against men like Andrew Keir and Andre Morel. And there's much more. The reminiscences of assistant director Hugh Harlow and special effects assistant Brian Johnson I thought were very interesting.
The Moon Project.
It's unbelievable.
Following a deal brokered with United Artists, the budget for Quatermass 2 was substantially larger than last time, building to what is arguably the largest scale climax in Hammer's history. Yet it would be 10 years before the next instalment of the series. Though well received, Quatermass 2's release was overshadowed by the success of The Curse of Frankenstein, putting Hammer in the odd position of competing with itself.
Now, the gentleman over there is a scientist, and I want you to listen to what he has to say.
It is a road not taken for Hammer, and beyond its genre credentials, it is a first-rate thriller. Val Guest's terse, matter-of-fact direction pairing well with Kneale's flights of imagination. If not as iconic, this is at least as good, some would say better, than the films that made Hammer famous. No word yet on a release of Quatermass and the Pit. I think official word is there was a big gap between the second and third films, and unofficially, maybe a rights issue. So next up is a less well-known name, Blood Orange. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think of this film and how it compares to the other Quatermass entries in the comments below.